Hey, I, Zach Wolf, figured in addition to a YouTube poop, I do another one of my famous Berenstain Bears book to TV comparisons to celebrate the CBS animated series' 40th anniversary. Produced by Southern Star Productions, the studio also known for Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue. Generally, when that show adapted one of the first-time books, aka the Berenstain Bears Classics books, they were pretty faithful, sometimes more so than the PBS series produced at Nelvana, which had recently gone dormant due to financial issues with parent company Chorus. But there'd still be a few noticeable differences. Funny enough, Nelvana and Chorus also currently share distribution rights to the 80s Berenstain Bears series, with Berenstain Enterprises and Wild Brain acquiring them after Southern Star folded in 2013. For this, I'm going to compare the book and the TV adaptation of the story I just made a YouTube poop of. The Berenstain Bears learn about strangers. Indeed, the 80s was a big stranger danger decade regarding the mass panic and concerns of child abduction and safety during the Ronald Reagan era. So it seemed only natural Stan and Jan Berenstain would write and illustrate a book on the subject, and they did a very good job at it. The book also concludes with a little list of safety rules for cubs and kids regarding stranger danger. And it also seemed natural that with this new book at the time, Stan and Jan would adapt it into an episode of the Berenstain Bears Saturday morning cartoon, debuting on CBS that season. I like the somewhat ominous feel of the book cover here, along with the title page. And of course, the little poem to start the book, which of course wasn't featured in the TV series, as it was the Nelvana series that introduced the introductory poems, not the Southern Star series. Bear Country is safe when every small cub there learns the special lessons from Ma and Papa Bear. To start off, the book here begins mentioning how brother and sister bear look quite a lot alike, except for their genders, of course. And they did enjoy many of the same things, in addition to their own unique hobbies. And then it goes to say how they are different in some important ways, with brother being cautious and a little wary of strangers, while sister wasn't the least bit wary and was friendly to a fault, greeting just about everyone they passed by. The TV adaptation modifies it somewhat, since there isn't any narrator, with brother being engrossed in a few of his own interests and initially not wanting to do anything with sister, even if they are things they both enjoy, like playing soccer. The way brother declines your invitation to hang out at the mall is amusing.
Hey brother, let's go out and do something. We'll go over to the mall and hang out.
Ha! Sister wanting to go to the mall is definitely a sign this was made in the 80s, in addition to that funky music score. Then we get a bit with Papa confusing sister with explaining the differences between an introvert and extrovert in his usual bumbling manner. Only then is brother now ready to play soccer with his sister, and it's on the way to the village green to play soccer where brother notices sister saying hello to all the strangers, even a non-anthropomorphic frog like in the book. Also, in the book here, sister and brother bear just seem to be taking a stroll through the village green. But in both of them, brother asks sister how does she know all those bears, and sister admits she doesn't. And of course, this gets brother worried, and that they should go to their mama and papa to talk about the stranger issue. The TV version adds an extra bit where during the Cubs soccer game, when sister goes to retrieve their blank white ball, she gets distracted by the old bear feeding the birds and strikes up a conversation with him. So of course, brother has to yank her away, since this particular show is also cartoonier than the 2000 series. But in both cases, Papa Bear is glad the cubs brought that up. And he tells them how they should never talk to a stranger, never ever take presents from a stranger, and never ever ever go anywhere with a stranger. And he ends up saying that twice in the TV version. Maybe because Stan and Jan kind of felt television was more for those with shorter attention spans. And in both, Mama Bear hopes Papa can tell Sister about strangers without making everything scary. And the headlines in the Bear Country newspaper get to Sister Bear. I mean, look at these. Stranger bothers cub. Missing cub found. Chief Grizzly questions stranger. In the TV adaptation, the article images are in color and look like they are traced directly from the book. I wonder if Stan and Jan Berenstain had some kind of involvement with the storyboards and layouts for this series. A big difference between both, though, is that the original book also has a scene where Papa Bear reads a bedtime story to Sister, Silly Goose and Wily Fox, which has kind of a moral about stranger danger. At the end, there was a snip and a snap, and all that was left of Silly Goose is a few floating feathers and a smile on the face of Wily Fox. Sounds like it's kind of based on the story of Chicken Little and Henny Penny, especially the older versions where the fox eats all the poultry characters. I also like Wily Fox's design here, and that story doesn't really help Sister's newfound paranoia of strangers. So she has a hard time falling asleep, thinking of all those headlines. Even Silly Goose missing and Wily Fox questioned. Of course, those two headlines are left out in the TV adaptation since Papa didn't read him the story, while the other three there are visually represented from their newspaper illustrations with voiceovers from Papa Bear. And then the next morning, everything seemed a little strange to Sister when she looked out the window. The TV version also adds a bit where even their toys in the corners suddenly look menacing. There's also a breakfast scene here in the book that's not shown in the TV adaptation, with Sister being pretty out of it until Brother suggests he decide to play Frisbee, her favorite game, in the village green. That aspect of the TV version was in their bedroom. The book also mentions the Bear family has a rule that the cubs never went anywhere without telling Mama or Papa where they'd be going first. And in both, Mama's going to get some apples and will pick up the cubs on the way home. The book has it specifically mentioned as from Farmer Ben, while the TV adaptation just says it's a farmer's market. And then at the village green, it looks like this. But to Sister, she sees everyone looking mean and scary to her. The TV adaptation condensed it to just the balloon man and that woman selling the flowers. Also adding that old guy feeding the birds from earlier. And then later when Mama taps Sister on the shoulder when coming to pick him up, she jumps a mile high. That's when Mama notices Sister being out of it and unusually anxious about strangers. And then when they're at home and getting ready to make applesauce, in both versions, Mama tells Sister that while it's not a good idea to talk to strangers or anything like that, it doesn't mean all strangers are bad, and there likely wasn't anyone on that green who hurt a cub like Sister. I reminded him in the Berenstain Bears Meet Big Paw Thanksgiving special from 1980 when Mama made a song out of it that she sang to Papa and the other adults in Bear Country, trying to save the town from Big Paw. And she turns out to be right, that Big Paw isn't a menace, and he even saves the cubs' lives. Back to learn about strangers. When her Mama goes to compare strangers to a barrel of apples, with an old saying that there'll always be a couple of bad apples in every barrel, and cubs have to be careful because of a few bad apple strangers. Sister finds a bumpy, funny-looking apple, and she automatically assumes it's a bad one. And Mama mentions that you can't always tell from the outside which are not bad apples, be it strangers or literal apples. And the bumpy-looking apple's perfectly fine and edible on the inside. Then she finds an apple that looks fine on the outside, but inside it's all wormy. Yuck indeed, Sister. And I wonder how Mama figured out from the outside that apple's actually an icky and wormy one. Just the hunch she had. And in the TV adaptation, she doesn't actually say, but inside it's all wormy, letting the music and Sister's reactions say it all.
Yeah.
Aside from the less detailed animation, of course, being animated by Hanna-Barbera Australia. I've seen some shawnier looking episodes of that one, though. But yes, with the Bad Apple Strangers, it's all about deception. Heck, I can be kind of like the bumpy and funny-shaped apple, being a big bad wolf too. But that doesn't mean I'm actually bad, most of the time. And especially not to kids and cubs. And now Sister's also back to her old friendly self, wanting to pick wildflowers with Brother as he tries out his model pusher planes. But then a stranger drives up with a huge radio-controlled model plane. And of course, Brother, being a model plane enthusiast himself, starts speaking to the stranger about it. Sister remembers what their parents said. And so just as the stranger asks Brother if he wants to come along in the car to follow the radio-controlled model plane, that's when Sister pulls him back and says, "Don't you dare!" And so the stranger drives off and Sister runs home shouting, "Brother, talk to a stranger!" In the TV version, it looks like some of the layouts were copied almost exactly for these pages, with the stating in poses. And Sister shouting when running home is in a mocking sing-song.
Brother, talk to a stranger. Brother, talk to a stranger.
Not helping at all, Sister. Then the dialogue here is copied exactly to the TV version, along with similar poses. But Papa's line here sounds somewhat harsher, more concerned compared to the way he's drawn in the book.
That doesn't matter. We have rules about strangers, and they're important.
We have rules about tattletales, too.
Well, it didn't help that in the TV version, Sister's mocking sing-song, "Brother, talk to a stranger, brother, talk to a stranger," did indeed sound kind of like tattling. And Mama admits that fellow with the radio-controlled airplane probably wasn't a bad apple stranger. And I have to agree he probably wasn't. But he still shouldn't have asked Brother to come along in his car to follow the model plane. But of course in my YouTube poop, it's a different story.
Would you kids like to come with me?
Yeah, in making that video, I couldn't resist such references to ensure that it doesn't get mistakenly marked as made for kids, which YouTube poops certainly are not. Especially since these older Berenstain Bears books remain in print to this very day, as most of them are really timeless, with only a few exceptions. Along with both the animated shows and the original TV specials being officially uploaded to YouTube, along with Mike Berenstain still coming out with some new books, and not just that Living Lights Christian series. But regarding that stranger with the model plane not necessarily being a bad apple, Sister tells Brother that you have to be careful, just in case. The TV version just ends right after that, while the book concludes with the Bear family enjoying Mama's homemade applesauce as the Cubs think about what they learned that day. Then the final page consists of Brother and Sister Bear's stranger safety rules for cubs and kids. In addition to the facts already mentioned, that you should never talk to a stranger or take candy or other gifts for a stranger or ever go anywhere with a stranger, it also adds to never keep secrets from your parents, especially if someone asks you to. And there's also a rule about your body being your own personal property and nobody else's, especially the private parts, like Sonic the Hedgehog and He-Man and Winnie the Pooh have all talked about. Of course, CBS probably didn't want such a message incorporated into any of their Saturday morning cartoons at that time, compared to He-Man and She-Ra and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog being made for first-run syndication, where they could get away with stuff compared to what the big networks allowed at the time. And the final rule is about using your common sense. as we can't have rules for everything, and common sense is what keeps us safe by telling us what to do in situations that aren't covered by rules. I think the animated series discussed common sense in at least one episode, so there's that. But as for some of the other rules, that same year, the Berenstains and the American Academy for Pediatrics produced a Stranger Danger PSA featuring brother and sister bear, discussing how they should never talk to or accept candy or whatever from strangers or ever go anywhere with a stranger. Kind of condensing the messages through the book into a 30-second public service announcement. It was also animated by Buzzco Associates, who produced the original TV specials for NBC, hence the same art style. But this time, co-founder Buzz Potemkin wasn't with the studio anymore, as he was now heading Southern Star Productions, where he was a producer-director on the CBS Berenstain Bears animated series. Funny how things work out. But there you have it. 40 years of the Berenstain Bears having their own animated series. Specifically, the premiere of the CBS Saturday morning cartoon. I've done quite a few YouTube poops of, including that new one I uploaded this morning. But I don't make them as often as YouTube poops of the PBS animated series from the 2000s. So, of course, keep watching this YouTube channel to see whatever me or my other furry toon friends here do next.